Yes.
All right. So what you're going to do first, so this is already in 60 seconds, which is what it needs to be. So you're going to go up here, you're going to go to the export AGD, and we're going to hit that. We'll see if it, because there's two different ways you can do this, so we'll see if,
Yeah, that file.
this one.
Yes.
This may have been, that's 10.9. Where is
The first folder.
Here, let me see something. Sometimes it's easier if you go here, you go export data table, CSV. This is the way I recommend doing it instead of doing it this way, because this way, for whatever reason, gets really confusing. So export data table. All right, and then that would be this one, correct? Yes.
Yes.
So we'll open it. All right, and what you see is that we have all of our, for every minute from 8 o'clock on, we have this individual's data, which is great. That's what we want. So what we need to do is, first and foremost, we need to save this as a different type of file. So right now it's in a CSV file format, which is fine, but the problem is you lose your formulas that you put into a CSV file when you don't save it as a workbook. So we will come out here, we'll just save it as a regular Excel workbook, and then we'll just hit save. All right, we'll close the CSV file because we don't really need it anymore. You can delete it or do whatever you want with it. Then we'll come back out here, and when we open this up a little bit further, we can look at what's designated as what when we look at the file type. So when we open it up here, we see the CSV file or the comma separated file. That's not what we want to use. We want to use the newly created worksheet that we just made. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go into here. We don't need any of this stuff, so it's really useless to have. So we can just right click and delete all of this unless you need that for any reason. It's just extra stuff. So we're going to delete that. Now what you'll see is we have all the pertinent information that we most care about. So this is just one day, 1 day's worth of data, I believe. It may not be.
Just 1 day.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's multiple days. It's multiple days. So this exported all of the where data that you had for this individual, as it should have. Now, the way that I handle the cutting of data, so I will have gone in prior to actually completing the step I'm about to show, and I will have validated all the data within Actigraph. So that needs to be done before any of this. Now, considering that this data would have been validated and everything looks good, okay, we're ready to go, we'll know the days that you observed to be the most valid. So for instance, maybe 9/4, 9/5, and 9/6 of 2018 were the most valid days. So we will then cut these days manually. So we're going to take, how many hours per day did you want to analyze?
10 hours.
10 hours. So 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. So I forgot if this may do, yeah. So 6 o'clock in the evening, so we'll just go to 1800.
Yeah, maybe 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be 12 hours.
Yeah, and that's usually what I do, but it's up to you how you want to cut it. So we know, so 20, all right, awesome. So we're right there. The rest of September 4th it's up to you whether or not you want to cut it away or you want to continue analyzing until you see that there's 0 and they essentially that they took it off. And that's really up to you, because then you just have to adjust for wear time. So I'm just going to cut the rest of September 4th out. I'm just going to delete it. All right. So perhaps our next day is September 5th. All right. So September 5th starts here, but obviously they're not wearing it. You're registering all zeros. So this is where it's really important, and I would save in an extra file the start times and end times that each of my participants reported, because I had them fill out a wear log. If you don't have a wear log to look at when they reported putting on the Actigraph, you have to go through manually and kind of see where it appears as though they started wearing it. So, all right, so we're starting to see numbers here. It looks like at about 6:20 in the morning, which makes sense that this person started wearing the Actigraph. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to essentially midnight, and we're going to cut everything out. So we're going to go, let's see. So we'll go here, and we're going to cut all the way down to 6:20.
6:20. But we can use the filter to pick a time frame for each day.
Nope, you can't use the filter. You got to do this all manually, otherwise this doesn't work. You got to do this all by hand, because to analyze it this way, it's all a manual way to analyze it. So let's pretend we want to go 12 hours
12
again.
hours.
So we're going to go to 1820.
1820.
Go all the way down. So 1820. All right. And we're going to cut this out. And we're going to paste it into a new day. All right. So this day will be 9/4.
This day.
This day will be 2018 09 05. All right, and then because we know,
that should be enough.
Yeah.
We just do demonstration.
and then you'll do a
9/6.
third day as well. All right, so let's pretend that we've split the 3 days that we wanted to analyze. So ideally you do 2 weekdays, 1 weekend day if you have that data, but that varies from study to study. So we'll have to go through the initial tab here, and we need to delete all the rest of the data below, which can take forever sometimes, but it's definitely something that needs to be done. So you'll be able to go through and do this. I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom because it won't affect anything for our analysis, but you'll ultimately want to delete all the rest of the data, and you'll be set to go. So let's pretend we deleted it all, and I'm going to delete just here. Yeah, this is the problem when we don't delete it all. It starts to creep up. So let's insert just several different. Alright, I guess I'll just do it this way. So we just need to, let's pretend as though, again, we've deleted everything. I just need some extra lines so I can write some formulas in here. Otherwise, none of this makes sense. All right. So when we use this, so first we're going to, so we know if we go all the way back up to the top, so we're analyzing September 4th stuff. So if we go all the way back up to the top, we know that we're interested in column F. So all of our formulas are going to be written with column F in mind. So we'll go back down here. Oh, I went too far. It's such a big file. All right, so we'll go back down here, and what we'll do is we will designate in column E what we're going to be writing the different formulas for. So we want MVPA, obviously. We want LPA. We want sedentary behavior, and then you have to do a sedentary behavior 0 count, because when there's 0 steps, that's obviously sedentary behavior as well. So I typically just call it sedentary behavior 0, and then average steps per day is what we'll do here as well. All right, so in column F, for any type of moderate to vigorous physical activity, the cut points for a minute-by-minute stepping rate analysis designate that that is 100 steps per minute and above. So what I need to do is I need to do a equals count if, all right? And then I'm going to put F2. So F2 is the row, so 2 is the row that this starts at. And then I'm going to come down to F722, all right? And that's going to count the number of minutes of MVPA, because it's going to count the number of 60-second epochs that has greater than 99 observations. So what I need to do is then designate the criteria. So I'm going to use quotation marks. I'm going to go greater, So I'm going to go
we need to remove
greater than 99. All right. And then I will hit enter. All right. This person had 0 minutes of MVPA during this day. All right. So now what I'm going to do is to do light physical activity. It's got to be a little bit different. So I'm going to go equal count ifs. The reason I'm doing count ifs is because I'm designating a range. So we know that light physical activity is any type of, so per this method, it's between 20 steps per minute and 99 steps per minute. So we will use the same designation as far as the rows. So we'll go F2 to F722, and then we'll designate the criteria. And then we can put in greater than 19, because remember, we want to specify 20 all the way up to 99. So greater than 19, and then we'll also do a second criteria. So F2 to F722, and we want to say anything less than 100. All right, so again, 20 to 99 is what we're looking for here. All right, then we'll hit enter. All right, 203 minutes on this day for light physical activity. All right, moving on to sedentary behavior, we're also designating a range. So we have to again use that count ifs function. All right, we'll designate the same rows and column. So F2 to F722. Then we'll put in our criteria. So to look at sedentary behavior that's not complete, like no steps, we're looking at everything that is between 0, or essentially 1 to 19. So when we do that, we need to go greater than 0. So again, that's designating 1. And then we'll go F2 again to F722, and we'll do less than 20. Let's see. All right. Then we will hit enter. All right, 475 minutes of sedentary behavior. So again, we have the light physical activity, sedentary behavior. That's all great, but there is also sedentary behavior where people don't do any steps. So what we have to do, we can go back to using our count if function, but we still need to incorporate this. So we need to count any minutes that are also 0. So F2 to F722. All right. Helps when I put the F722. And then we're going to just say 0 because we want to look for any zeros. All right, and then we'll close the parentheses, 43 minutes. All right, the biggest thing that we can do is we can go here and we know that there's 7, so I cut this 1 too long, but we know that for 12 hours, there's a total of 720 minutes. And so we need to make sure that all of these add up to 720, and we can see here that it adds up to 721, but again I included one too many rows when I cut the data, but it's fine for analysis purposes here, just to kind of show you how it's done. So the other thing we need to do is we need to do the sum of steps. So sum of F2 to F722. All right, and then they took 11,415 steps. The other thing to note is that we would want to know the combined time, or we'd want to know the total time of sedentary behavior, which is 518, because you have to add up both the sedentary behavior and the sedentary 0. So 518 minutes, so total SB, and then you can just put 518. All right, so that's that. So that's how you do it for one person on one day. All right, so I always bold it so I know exactly what I'm working with when I come through and do the data analysis. You'd do the exact same going here. The only difference is it'd be F1 because I didn't include the header here that said steps and things like that. After that, you just average across each of the days that you included. So we would add up day 1's MVPA, day 2's MVPA, and day 3's MVPA, and we divide them by 3 to get the average moderate to vigorous physical activity per day. And we do the same thing for LPA, as well as our total sedentary behavior and our steps. So you just, again, you take the average across each of, or you take the average of all the days incorporated. So that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, it's time consuming since you have to do it. Yeah, basically we pick 3 days, 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I created a document in a Word file that I would use the AGD file, and I'd go through and I'd make sure that I had all the days that they reported wearing the Actigraph included. I'd write down all of the validated days, and then I'd make sure that I had 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day that was included. And so I'd write everything down. That way I knew how to cut these data. Do you want me to show it to you real quick?
Oh yeah. Do you have
No,
here?
I have it on my